France and Canada joined the United States and Germany's pledge for more tanks for Ukraine as Russia continues to bombard the country. Palestinians fire rockets from the West Bank to Israel after an Israeli raid on the town of Jenin sees 9 people dead. After another day of Russian attacks on Kyiv and other Ukrainian cities, Western allies continue the United States and Germany's commitment to supply tanks to Ukraine. Canada's Defence Minister Anita Anand said Thursday it would be supplying 4 of its Leopard 2 tanks. In his evening address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked the Canadian government. He also said that Russian aggression can only be stopped with adequate weapons, be it on the ground or up in the sky. France will also provide tanks to Ukraine.
As you know, we've already delivered artillery, ammunition and vehicles and announced at the very beginning of January that France will supply AMX-10 tanks.
The French foreign minister met with her Ukrainian counterpart, Dmitry Kuleba, in Odessa, recently designated by UNESCO as an endangered heritage site, amid unwavering Russian attacks. Protests erupted in Gaza following the killing of 9 Palestinians in an Israeli special operation in the West Bank town of Jenin. A 10th person was killed in a separate confrontation. Rockets were fired from the Palestinian territory overnight in response to the deadliest single raid in the territory in over 2 decades. Palestinian officials decided to cease security coordination with Israel in retaliation. A spokesperson for President Mahmoud Abbas says the immediate direction of the Security Council to implement the decision on international protection for the Palestinian people under Chapter 7 and to stop unilateral measures, to urgently turn to the International Criminal Court to add the file of the massacre committed by the occupation forces in Jenin today to the files previously submitted to the court. In addition to the 10 deaths, 20 people were also injured. Israel says those who were killed were armed, although many witnesses argue that several of those who died were civilians. The raid itself was praised by Israel's new security minister, far-right politician Itamar Ben-Gvir.
Tensions have flared up again between Pristina and Belgrade over the contentious issue of car license plates. Ethnic Serbs living in Kosovo are complaining that the Kosovan border police are violating an EU-brokered agreement reached last November. They say agents are telling them they can cross the border but can't come back unless they change their Serb-registered license plates for a Kosovan one.
We still do not have clear information about what is being implemented. Let's assume that the Kosovar government will continue to violate the agreement, regardless of criticism by the EU and the United States. We still don't know on what basis they're saying this car can pass and this one can't.
Under the deal, Serbia was to stop issuing license plates with markings indicating Kosovan cities, and Kosovo would not force Serbian residents to re-register their vehicles. There had been fears that the long-standing dispute over car licenses could trigger ethnic violence. Actually, the matter is not about the plates or other secondary matters, but it's about the aspirations of the Kosovan and Serbian governments, who actually controls the north of Kosovo, so that in those final negotiations they would have some advantage in the final solution. Serbs living in northern Kosovo, where ethnic Albanians are in the majority, don't recognize the Pristina government and see Belgrade as their capital.
From down in the Skopje Valley, you can see the capital of North Macedonia. In winter, it's often on the list of the Europe's most polluted cities. This year, it featured on the world's top 10 list for the worst air quality. This is Gorjan Jovanovski, activist and creator of the My Air app, which, given the pollution problem, has become one of the most popular mobile phone applications in the city. His popularity enabled him to become a member of the city council, where he actively works to improve the situation.
Skopje is in a valley. We're a valley city. We're surrounded by mountains, which means that there's not a lot of airflow. And especially during winter, when we have temperature inversion, we cannot let all of this pollution that we generate from the industry, from the households, from the cars, to escape this valley. And it starts to fill up, and it's like a boiling pot. It gets worse and worse and worse until maybe we have some showers or some wind to clear it out.
Skopje, with 700,000 inhabitants, is an industrial city with many factories built under the former communist system when environmental standards were not a consideration. Today, industrial facilities in the city operate without the necessary controls to meet standards.
We are turning a blind eye to the industry. A lot of this industry is unregulated, unmonitored. Very few industries have 24-hour monitoring systems that are installed. Even those that have a lot of holes in the data. They're not being regularly checked. So we have industry that is completely uncontrolled.
The European Commission is closely monitoring the Skopje's pollution levels. In several reports, it has highlighted a failure to implement laws required to achieve the ambitions of the Green Agenda for the Western Balkans.
We have laws that are not being implemented. We have laws that are not sufficient, that need to be changed, that need to be made better. There's a systematic problem of these people not doing their jobs correctly, and of course not implementing the laws that are there, or not even trying to make the laws better.
Political parties from left and right origins have changed the power in the last decades, but none of them managed to deal with this problem. The citizens' only hope now is the EU membership negotiations that started last year and is now in the screening phase. In Skopje for Euronews, Borjan Jovanovski.
A retired army general is challenging populist billionaire Andrej Babis in the Czech presidential runoff. As political newcomer Petr Pavel takes on the former Prime Minister in what is a largely ceremonial presidency. They both advanced to the second round when none of the 8 candidates received a majority of votes in the initial round 2 weeks ago. Pavel narrowly won the vote. Now 3 other candidates have pledged their support for him ahead of the 2-day ballot starting Friday. As war rages in Europe and countries fear a spill, Babis recently caused a stir by saying in a live debate on Sunday he would refuse to send troops to defend NATO allies Poland if it was attacked. Babis has been a divisive figure in politics as well. He holds Eurosceptic views, which unites him with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban.
Babis used the theme of war, the war in Ukraine, when he began to present himself as a peacemaker. And Petr Pavel, because he's a retired general, labelled him as a warmonger, a hawk, a person who threatens to lead us into war.
The winner will succeed controversy-courting Milos Zeman, whose second and final term expires in March. Pavel is running as an independent, but has also the backing of the centre-right cabinet. He was a former chairman of NATO's military committee between 2015 and 2018, the alliance's highest military body. He's fully endorsed the country's military and humanitarian support for Ukraine in its fight against Russia.
I'm so honored. I can't even believe it. I'm so grateful. It's thrilling.
A world star will grace this year's Vienna Opera Ball. Jane Fonda will be the guest of Austrian building contractor Richard Lugner. Since 1992, the 90-year-old socialite has brought prominent female companions to the annual ball, who are usually 3 decades younger than him. Joan Collins has already shone at his side, Sophia Loren, Kim Kardashian, and most recently, Ornella Muti. Organisers are gearing up for this year's event after it was cancelled for 2 years due to the COVID pandemic. It's one of the most glamorous events in Europe and is broadcast to millions around the world. Lugner admits his dancing skills in English are a little rusty. However, his date this year may be one of his most formidable yet.
So, you know...
Acclaimed actress Jane Fonda is also a prominent activist. More recently, she's been protesting against climate change and getting arrested while she's at it.